Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey kids, welcome to Grumpy Nostalgia, the Second Look Cinema podcast. Show where we go back to the blockbuster new release wall of our memory, grab a copy off the shelf, pop it in the old VCR, and see what time has done to it. I'm Justin, that's Mike. Scary.
Thank you.
And we're here to help you navigate all the landmines littered down memory lane. So Mike, season 2, this is the end.
We've just about closed that chapter, haven't we?
The end, beautiful friend. So we're coming to the end of our second season. This is a lackluster season finale, but we wanted to end strong. And one of the biggest hitters of our first season was the movie Batman with Michael Keaton. And
I heard he returns like 3 years later.
yeah, he does. Oddly enough. So we're going to revisit the Batman universe, and this one's called Batman Returns, Mike, from 1992.
Clever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
It's no Electric Boogaloo, but Returns does make sense for a second one.
But yeah. All right, so let's just get to it because we got a lot of stuff we want to kind of talk about as a function of our season finale for our fans or fan. That's my mom mostly, but we'll get through it. So this was directed by Tim Burton, who went around again in the chair to give this another whirl. He was not contractually obligated to do a sequel by any means, and neither was Michael Keaton, and they both kind of like held their ground and got their demands this time. What Tim Burton needed this time was script approval because he wasn't very happy with the original script.
Wow.
But oddly enough, he went back with the original screenwriters to write the script as well, and that would be Daniel Waters, who's famous for Heathers. He did the movie Heathers, Mike, which I thought was interesting. Nice. It's kind of a cool cult movie, but he also couples that with Hudson Hawk, Demolition Man, and The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. So,
oh wow,
yeah, wow. There's your profile for you.
Heyo.
And the other writer here was Sam Hamm, who also wrote the script Monkey Bone. So,
hey, Brendan Fraser,
yeah, and some other Batman movies as well, and they're all based by the source material by Bob Kane. So there you go.
Okay.
So this was released on June 19th, 1992. And it had a budget of $80 million, Mike.
Wow, was that a good bit more than the first one in '89?
Slightly less per capita, but yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
So, Mike, we're talking about a sequel here, and Tim Burton insisted that it be a standalone movie, not a direct sequel to the first one, and that was part of one of his demands in order to direct this movie. So that got him back here. We also have some follow-up characters, but essentially a new cast. So, Mike, you want to walk us through the new cast of characters for this movie?
Yeah. Of course, you mentioned Michael Keaton, who returns as probably for a bigger paycheck and a little more of a sneer in this one. You lose one blonde, but get another. Kim Basinger does not appear as Vicky Vale in this, but you do get a Michelle Pfeiffer, who nice. I would say pretty even trade right there.
Yeah.
Maybe acting wise, maybe a little better. Than Mrs. Baldwin. Yeah. I liked her. She was probably the favorite part of the movie for me.
Same here. Yeah.
Instead of Jack Nicholson, you get a Danny DeVito, who's well cast as a deformed human penguin character.
Yeah.
To me, it works for whatever it was as his version of the penguin. He carries the kind of Burgess Meredith, laugh and the some of the little quips and stuff are good.
Yeah.
And there's no Billy D. Williams in this one, which was disappointing.
Yeah,
we get the generic mayor character in this one.
Hardly was any in the first one.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough of the Schlitz malt liquor rep. It did get Pat Hingle, who appears as the Commissioner Gordon for just a couple of seconds in this movie. He must have been bad health, is what I'm
to maintain some continuity, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Instead of Jack Palance in this movie, you get Christopher Walken. So another even trade,
You sure you get some Christopher Walken.
I was going to say, you really don't get Walken. You kind of get his wig, which is pretty good. And then that's pretty much the meat of the cast. You have the same Alfred the Butler character, the English guy, Michael Galgo, and then you have some side characters that really, I don't know, they don't amount to much. Some of the Penguin's goons. You got Mr. Vargas from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, who appears as an organ grinder in this movie, and one of Penguin's
great pull,
Penguin's henchmen, and we have a Twister alum who appears as the paper boy in this one. Don't bother with the name. Don't worry about it. And then I'm gonna give special acknowledgement since he was also in one of our second season movies. Henry Kingi. He appears as a mugger in this movie. He's a first victim of Catwoman when he gets scratched across the face, but he also appeared as one of the Colombian drug lords in
That's
Predator
right.
2.
He ruined the guy's tamale steamer.
That's right. The tamale guy. Thank you.
I knew that was it.
Tipped it over and just ran right over it. He makes a little brief appearance. And like I said, there's no Vicky Vale. I think she was in Corto Maltese or something, doing some more photography. But we know. I think there's a backstory there that kind of halfway touch on this movie.
There's one line of dialogue where they allude to her, like,
right.
Batman, Bruce Wayne screwed it up, and whatever. So,
and I don't want to forget. Probably, I shouldn't count it as a cast member, but it's so overbearing in this movie. Probably more than the first is Danny Elfman, or former Oingo Boingo member, who I found the soundtrack on this movie a lot more overpowering and annoying at times compared to the first one. But it seemed more saturated with Elfman in this one than usual.
Yeah, but no Prince.
Well, you got a little Rick James, you got a little Super Freak in there.
Okay.
I was a welcome relief to hear.
Yeah.
Even though it was like a Muzak version of it, it was still there.
Yeah.
It was
right.
Something.
Yeah. Seems kind of sacrilegious to be happy a Prince song is not in the movie, but
that's true. Yeah, no Party Man.
Just didn't work well the last time for me personally. That's all. So
yeah.
Okay, well, that's great, Mike. Thank you very much. I don't know if you mentioned this or forgot to mention this, but one of the things I noticed about the cast was as the camera opens, we get a glimpse of Paul Rubens doing.
I left out. Yeah, he's another guy from our from Blues Brothers. Yeah, another alum from the second season.
Just some other notes about that cast. Michael Keaton only agreed to return in this role for a hefty pay raise. I think it was $11 million this time, and he's admitted he's never seen this movie. He only did it to get the cash he needed for a real estate deal. And when you hear those kind of things, Mike, it kind of takes the romance out of movies a little bit.
Does. Yeah.
There are some actors that you want Michael Keaton to be Bruce Wayne all his life, but there are some actors that treat this like it should be as a job, and they don't buy into the fandom of it, and it hurts a little bit, but you realize that it's their right to do it. Are you still talking about jobs you did 27 years ago? No, not so. Yeah, so that was a little discouraging, at least. You talked about Michelle Pfeiffer. I think when first time I saw this movie, I didn't appreciate how great she was. But we'll get to her as well. Annette Bening was originally cast to play the role, and then she got pregnant and had to drop out. So Michelle Pfeiffer kind of dropped in. I think Annette Bening.
Thank you, Warren Beatty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Meryl Streep was also considered, but director Tim Burton said she was too old.
Oof.
So, there you go. This is before the current environment, I suppose. Danny DeVito's character, the Penguin. There's also several other actors considered for that role, including John Candy, Dudley Moore, Marlon Brando. For some reason, I would have paid his salary myself.
Twice the ticket I would pay today. Yeah, just to watch Marlon Brando's.
Dustin Hoffman was in there as the lead candidate, and Phil Collins was in there as well.
What the?
I don't know. David Bowie was also considered for the Christopher Walken role, Max Schreck. That might have been cool, but David Bowie. He doesn't need that kind of stuff. Other notes about the shoot: the sets were massive for this one. They took up almost 50% of the studio lot on Warner Brothers, so it pretty much took over the entire studio. It was the first movie to be shot in Dolby Digital. For those audiophiles that care about that kind of thing. Michelle Pfeiffer went through about 60 cat suits in this movie. I wish I had like 10 of them, just as for whatever reason. That scene where she swallows the bird, that was real. She actually did that bird was in her mouth.
That's cool.
Real. They couldn't fake it real enough, so she actually went through and swallowed that bird, which I thought was cool. The legends are true. Robin was supposed to appear in this movie, but he was written out. I think that rumor is not confirmed, but Marlon Wayans was supposed to play Robin in this movie.
Oh my gosh!
But somewhere there exists the real Robin suit, and there's actually a toy line developed after this character as well that never made it to market, but they do exist. I've seen the drawings. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, so that was kind of the landscape around the movie. The original Batman, of course, was done in 1889. It was a huge hit and scream sequel. But some conditions were made by the production crew, and they were ultimately met by Warner Brothers. And we got this released in a very busy 1992 summer. So, Mike, speaking of 1992, there's a couple other things that were going on. We always like to talk about the music scene. Mike, if you were unfortunate enough to have the radio on. What you would have heard when you were driving to the theater to watch this were I'll Be There by Mariah Carey, which I think she's covering the Jackson 5. Vanessa Williams, Save the Best for Last.
Oh, boy.
This was the summer that Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You played.
Are there any guys that were singing that summer?
I'm getting there. Covering Me Bad. Was there.
Wait, again, any guys?
Exactly.
Like men?
The song All for Love. Finally, some masculinity kind of creeped into the stage. We had Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot, which is one of my personal anthems. And we got introduced to Criss Cross singing the song Jump. Like,
yes. They're going to make you jump.
They're going to make you jump. The Daddy Mac will make you jump. Like, these were the little pint-sized rappers that wore their pants backwards for some. That's true. That's a real thing. So this movie had some competition in that summer. Actually, it was a lone release on a Friday. They don't really do that a lot, but it was a single release on June 19th. It was the only movie that came out that Friday. But the Wednesday prior to that, we had Patriot Games and Class Act. More pint-sized rappers that did their own movie.
Oh my gosh!
I saw that in the theater, Mike, with my then girlfriend because we had literally nothing else to do.
Wow!
Also in the theaters during the time that Batman Returns was released was the movie Sister Act, Lethal Weapon 3, Alien 3, and Iron Eagle 3. So it was a good summer for the trilogies, Mike. So there you go.
Please tell me Louis Gossett Jr. wasn't in that one.
Of course he was.
Of course he was.
Of course he was. So, there you go. There's the embarrassing landscape from a pop culture perspective. And this new stuff won't make it any better. This was also the year that MTV premiered The Real World. And there was concern.
In San Francisco.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Puck?
I think it was in New York. That was
New York. Yeah, San Francisco's next one. That's right.
Yeah. And there was concern that MTV would gravitate more towards original programming and not play music videos.
No way.
Yeah. But well, there you go. This is also... Speaking of pop culture greatness, this is the summer that Amy Fisher shot Mary Jo Buttafuoco in the face. The fabled Long Island Lolita case that the media seemed to kind of gravitate to, you could say.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the first year there was ever a text message. The first message was sent. It was Merry Christmas, by the way, if anybody cares. It was sent over a computer. And then this was the first year that there was ever a E rating for a video game. Mortal Kombat was the first game to get a mature rating.
Ooh.
Yeah, making sure that every kid would want it.
Yes.
So that's kind of all there really was. Me and Mike had a discussion before we hit record today that we couldn't quite figure out, having watched this movie, how it was so popular.
I think you just told me. Yeah,
I think we just kind of explained that. There really wasn't a whole lot going on, but we didn't know that at the time, and that's the whole point of this show. So I guess we should probably just kind of go through the movie and kind of confirm our case. Don't you agree, Counselor?
Agreed. Proceed.
So, Mike, if you're ready, why don't you go ahead and hit the button?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it opens up. It's another bright, shiny day in Gotham, Mike. It's almost pitch black, and there's this little prologue where...
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oswald Cobblepot.
Yeah. So the Oswald Cobblepot character here, played by a cameo by Paul Rubens, is looking out the window pensively as his wife is giving birth in the next room, and there's a bunch of screams, and apparently she gives birth to this devil baby. So in the spirit of Christmas, they put the baby in a crib and dump it in the river. So there you go. There's the first scene. They take a newborn child and that's different and dump it in the river. And then the camera follows this little crib into the sewers of Gotham for about 4.5 minutes where we get all the credits. And then it kind of cuts to Christmas time, and they're showing all the tree lighting ceremonies and all that good stuff, and all the while there's the extra read all about it kid that's there. There's rumors of a penguin man living in the sewers in Gotham. Exposition 101.
Yes.
So we kind of cut to this boardroom scene where we get introduced to Christopher Walken playing this oddly appearanced Max Schreck. He decided to get a Don King wig or for some reason. And he's this mogul in Gotham who's trying to pitch this power plant that he wants to build to the city officials of Gotham, including the mayor. And here we get introduced to a very clumsy, awkward, yet exceedingly cute Michelle Pfeiffer playing his assistant, Selena Kyle. The city council doesn't understand why he needs a power plant and all that good stuff, and there's tension there at least. But they kind of break up to go out and address the crowd and do the tree lighting ceremony. So So as they go down to address the crowd, the mayor's giving a small speech, and then out of nowhere, they're attacked by circus freaks, Mike.
You got a fire breather, you got clowns,
Yeah.
sword salt swallower, you got them
Yeah,
all.
straight out of the Tim Burton playbook. They're all whimsically drawn and characterized, but they're causing a bunch of trouble, enough to cause our Commissioner Gordon, played by Pat Hingle, to hit the bat signal, and then we get introduced to this wonderful backlit scene of Michael Keaton. He's huge.
He's just sitting there. He's
Yeah.
just sitting there in the dark, and all of a sudden the bat
waiting
signal
for the
light
bat signal.
gets
Yeah,
deflected by a couple of mirrors
yeah.
into his room right in front of him. And he's just
But-
like, oh, wait.
But he stands up and he poses all heroically, and the
Oh,
music
yeah.
kicks in, and it's kind of cool. Let's be honest. Then
Yeah.
So he springs into action and goes down and kicks a bunch of clown butts for about 20 minutes.
I love when he roasts the fire breather guy with his exhaust from his car.
Yeah. Batman's pretty deadly at this one. So I think this was really just set up to actually have Batman do something. Like in the first movie, he had like 2 fight scenes for a duration of like maybe 13 seconds.
Yeah. He does a lot more, he did a lot more cape waving and presentation in the first one,
Yeah, and I read that the bat suit he's wearing in this one is 55 pounds, so I'm sure that it was quite an ordeal, but he pushed through, Mike. This whole scene was kind of designed to create some chaos and a diversion, and the intent here was to get Max Schreck kind of herded down the sewers. He kind of gets isolated, and he gets sent down. He falls down a sewer shaft, and he's supposed to be herded into this abandoned zoo. Which turns out to be the Penguin's lair. And this is where we get introduced to Danny DeVito in a very sexy role, Mike, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
He reveals himself as the Penguin, hideous little dwarf with odd features and flipper hands. And he reveals himself to Shrek, and he blackmails him. He wants to introduce himself, reinvent himself to Gotham. He wants to get put back to society. And he wants Max to do that because he's dug up a lot of dirt about Max and his shady business dealings. Apparently, Max is polluting Gotham with a lot of toxic waste. I love how nondescript the toxic waste is here, Mike.
It's just green. It's just a green goo.
Like every movie in the 80s and 90s, the toxic waste was just something. No one knew what it was. It was just green. But so Shrek kind of, since he gets positioned in a tough spot, he agrees to help Penguin out. Being a scheming villain, he thinks there's probably a way they can both kind of help each other out, so he agrees to the deal.
How many times did you do a counter in this movie of the "We're not so different, you and I" speeches? There must have been at least 5 or 6 of them
between him and Bruce Wayne. If he took a shot for everyone, you'd be feeling pretty good.
Oh, I know. It's like, we get it.
We get it. You're outcast. No one loves you. All right. So at the end of his adventure, Christopher Walken kind of goes back to his office where he bursts in on Selena Kyle, who's there working late. And Selena's come across some of his dirty deeds in a file cabinet and kind of understood that, her bosses had done a bunch of bad stuff and it's awkward. And in order to just kind of calm the issue, he casually throws her out the window. And she kind of falls through 4 or 5 canopies with these cat logos on them, kind of falls in the middle of the street, and you kind of assume she's dead. And here, this is their origin story, Mike, which
this is the second time animals come to the rescue in this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
First it's the penguins that bring in, the baby Cobblepot, and then now it's cats that save a presumably dead Selena Kyle and femcell Selena Kyle laying on the ground.
Yeah. So the cats kind of take her over and like bite her and lick her and do all this weird stuff. And she has this like moment where clarity where she kind of comes to it at the end and takes this deep inhale, deep breath, and she comes back to life. And back then in those superhero movies, that's all it really took to develop. That's all you needed. The newer films with, elements of reality kind of peppered in them. They're a little more scientific, a little more complicated. But here it's just, a cat bit her and she became a cat.
Yeah. Cat bites on the finger and licks on the face. Ta-da.
Close enough, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So she gets the little cat scratch fever deal, and then subsequently has this, when she goes back into her apartment, she has this pretty much psychotic breakdown. And it's really triggered by the way men treat her and all that kind of thing. And I thought this was really kind of clever. It's a really cool scene where she just smashes up her house and throws her stuffed animals, her feminine stuff she just dismisses, and then kind of knits herself this wet leather cat suit with claws and fangs and things like that, which I thought was really cool. And she just becomes like insta sultry, she's like complete personality change, which, I didn't appreciate the first time I saw this, but how I watched my second view, and I was like, wow, she is the coolest badass part of this movie. In an attempt to get the Penguin into Gotham society, they kind of stage this stupid little baby kidnapping. The mayor's presenting his baby at a Christmas gathering, and one of the circus people steals it and goes down the sewers and pretends to be taken over by the Penguin. The Penguin emerges from the sewer with the mayor's baby, and suddenly he's a media darling. Bruce Wayne's looking on all the while from the Batcave and hearing the Penguin's story about looking for his father and being abandoned and looking for his true identity, and he kind of relates, so he kind of identifies and has a bit of a soft spot for the Penguin, at least for now. And then we kind of cut to like Catwoman's first real scene, where she, as Mike mentioned, the Predator 2 Colombian villain, typecast as always. He's mugging this woman in the street, and Selena Kyle does some backflips and promptly just takes care of this guy, scratches him up, beats the crap out of him. And what I thought here was interesting, Mike, is after she's done, she berates the woman. She blames the victim for being, put in that position and being so, accessible and vulnerable. And here, she's at least she's trying to make something unique out of this movie, where she's really a feminine icon at this point. But it was really kind of a cool take on it. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne sitting doing a little more research on the Penguin, because Batman is the world's greatest detective. Mike, people forget about that. So he starts doing a little digging and finds out he starts connecting the dots, and he sees that there's probably more to the story than meets the eye. He starts to realize that the Penguin might be a mob boss.
Red triangles.
Red triangles. Yeah, whatever that is. I never saw any red triangle imagery, but whatever. But yeah, he's in charge of the circus freak gang that causing nothing but chaos around Gotham.
The only thing this movie was missing was Helena Bottom Carter somewhere.
Exactly. She had to be in here somewhere, right? Uh-huh. So in an attempt to kind of flesh out his theory, Bruce Wayne meets with Max Schreck, and because he's also, rich potential donor, he meets with Max Schreck and says, hey, your power plant idea is stupid. We've got a surplus of power. I don't know why you need to do that. And he basically accuses Walken of kind of being in bed with the Penguin, and that gets weird. It gets even weirder when Selena Kyle comes back, because the last time Shrek saw her, he threw her out a window, but she comes back and vamps it up with Bruce Wayne, kind of starts to develop a little relationship with him, all the while keeping an eye on Max, letting him know that, hey, I'm back. You failed, putting him in a weird spot. And as Selena Kyle leaves with Bruce Wayne, there's an interesting little scene here where Max Schreck's talking to his son, Donald Trump Jr. type, and he says, she tries to blackmail me, I'll drop her out a higher window. So pressured by Wayne's stance for his power plant, Schreck opts to kind of usurp the mayor, so he agrees to finance the Penguin's run for mayor. Stay with me, guys, we're almost through. So Oswald Cobblepot's running for mayor, and he's backed by Max Schreck. As they're kind of doing the whole mayoral campaign, Selena Kyle is kind of exacting her revenge on Schreck at the same time, where she kind of smashes up a lot of his stores and his department stores. There's a great scene here, Mike, it's legendary, where she's got the whip and she's at the after hours in the department store with the security guards, and that scene where she snaps the four heads off the mannequins with her whip.
Oh yeah, that's
real. That was actually done in one take.
Cool.
And there's actually YouTube video footage of that scene behind the scenes, and she does that playful little jump rope thing at the end, and then like the cast and crew just go crazy. But I thought that was a really cool scene.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
especially knowing that it was done like that. That's really
it's all in one take. So she really learned how to throw that whip around, which is pretty cool. Catwoman and the Penguin decide to make an alliance, and then it doesn't go well.
Nah.
What I liked here is that the Penguin essentially breaks up with Catwoman because she spurns his advances, and you can see the look in her face. Like even as an arch criminal, she's not immune to sexualization, and she gets kicked out of the alliance because she doesn't concede to a man, and you can see the look on her face. She's just furious by it, which I thought was a neat little dynamic there. At least the idea here is during all this mayhem that the Penguin's gang steals Batman's Batmobile and kind of reprograms it. And they've done this thing with every Batman. They try to turn Batman against.
I was going to say, I would love to have like a of all the Batman movies, how many times does Gotham turn against him, or
Yeah.
he becomes set up. He's framed by one of the villains, and some kind of scheme where the police go after Batman. It's like, okay, this happens in every Batman movie at this point, and I forgot this one was like that too.
So the
Just for
Penguin,
a little bit.
yeah, for a little bit. Anyway. So the Penguin's driving the Batmobile around, causing mayhem, making people think that it's Batman turning against the city. And what the Penguin doesn't realize that Batman's really smart. He recorded the entire thing on his CD, on his compact disc.
Yes.
so, so as there's a press conference that Penguin's throwing for his mayoral speech, and Bruce Wayne plays the video of Cobblepot in the Batmobile, explaining how stupid the people are of Gotham and all that. And so he's foiled curses. So that just sets the Penguin off in this rage. And so, like every arch criminal, the easiest way to exact their revenge on the city is to strap a bunch of missiles to a bunch of penguins. Like it's option A, right? Of the playbook.
Right. The Penguin Armada. It's got to work, right?
Because penguins in and of themselves are horrifying. Let's be honest. They just strike terror in the hearts of everyone when you see them. So they're waddling down out of the zoo in the main square, and Batman
no one's around. There aren't any people around. They just got these penguins just going down the main plaza, and in the New York City type of city, and all by themselves. Here they go.
And the big play here is that Batman reverses the signal, and they just turn around. The end.
Just like that.
The whole plan is thwarted by bad firewall.
Oh boy.
So enraged by Batman once again, the Penguin kind of goes back to his lair and kidnaps Max Schreck and puts him in a big bird cage for some reason. And of course, Batman and Catwoman ultimately come upon the sewer of the zoo, and they have this big confrontation. And the Penguin, the rockets go off and explode. The Penguin gets knocked into Max Schreck's polluted waters. And as he comes up, you see like the green stuff coming out of his mouth, and he promptly drops dead. And he has a nice little penguin burial, Mike, which I thought was cute.
Burial at sea, sort of.
Yeah, and then for the other storyline, the Selena Kyle's revenge on Max Schreck is a little more brutal. She tasers him to death. I think she grabs a power line and gives him a kiss, and then he ends up, deep fried.
He shoots her how many times? Maybe 4?
7 times.
5? Okay.
She's assumed 9 lives because she got bit by a cat in an alley. And so that's all it takes.
All right.
But she saves those last 2 lives for a later day. And, Bruce Wayne's they develop a bit of a relationship, albeit enemies, but he looks for her and can't find her and assumes that she's succumbed to the explosions and died. So as at the end there in the snow, Alfred's driving him back to Wayne Manor, and he sees this cat in the alleyway, and he thinks he sees the shadow of Selena Kyle, and he gets out, and I guess he's mistaken, so he grabs the cat and brings it inside, and they kind of drive off, and you see the little bat signal up in the sky, Mike, and then of course you see Selena Kyle, and the camera pans back. Selena's looking up at the bat signal, implying there's going to be more to the Catwoman's story, but there is indeed not. So they did that whole movie to make another sequel. I mean, my impression about those type of movies, Mike. But that's it. That's the end of the movie. So
wow.
Yeah. So this movie was bonkers big, right? It was huge. I guess we'll get to this in our grumpy meter, Mike. So let's push pause on that for now, and then we'll flesh it out. So as far as awards and accolades go, this had a $46 million opening. Again, this is back in 1992, so that's serious. 30 years ago. That's a big money. It ended up doing $163 million domestically and $266 million worldwide. And it currently stands at number 344 all time on the all time domestic box office list, slightly ahead of Django Unchained and just $70,000 behind SpongeBob the movie, Mike. So how's that for historical context?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it did make $47 million in 3 days, and that was a record at the time for about a year. And then Jurassic Park came out that following year and just kind of crushed that. It was a big movie. It was the number 3 box office draw in 1992, just behind Disney's Aladdin and Home Alone. So it was a big movie. It got a couple of Oscar nominations. It lost both of them. One for visual effects, which it lost to Death Becomes Her. If you've seen that movie,
Interesting.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
good, but interesting.
yeah.
Hmm.
It got an Oscar nomination for makeup, but it lost to Bram Stoker's Dracula. Oddly enough,
I was going to say the eyeliner applicator alone should have gotten an award for this movie. Just
everybody wore a lot of mascara, good or bad.
oh yeah, man. Gee
Yeah.
whiz.
Our friends at MTV, Mike, we can finally talk about them again.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Now I'm perking up.
okay, you
Okay, what you
ready?
got?
All right, ready to go. This got 3 nominations. It lost all of them, sadly.
Okay.
First one was most
Best fight.
most
Oh.
desirable female.
Oh.
You know,
Okay.
this was pre-woke
Wait.
world.
Who did it lose to?
Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct.
Ah, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to beat.
Desirable
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah. Best villain. Danny DeVito was voted for best villain.
Lost
But
to.
lost to Jennifer Jason Leigh in Single White Female, another MTV friendly, stupid.
Yeah.
That was essentially a Lifetime movie of the week. Let's be honest.
Pretty much.
But it hits the chord with a lot of people. And then of
Where's
course,
Bridget Fonda now?
what
What happened to her? She had like a couple movies there in the early '90s, and then
she
poof.
retired from acting, and
Okay.
she had some very unflattering photos come out this year where she's not really recognizable.
Okay.
It was the subject of a lot of like privacy rights, and just because someone chooses not
That's
to be
right. Yeah, I think I
so
remember that story coming out. Okay.
yeah, but yeah,
Interesting.
she's retired.
All right.
Uh,
Sorry for diversion.
no, don't
Number
worry.
3.
It's just MTV. It's not like talking about something important. And the next one was Best Kiss, between Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle.
See, I was going for Christopher Walken.
That's a good one. That should have won.
Yeah.
But it lost Marissa Tomei and Christian Slater in Untamed Heart.
Oh, well, wow. Okay.
Remember that one, Mike?
Yeah, barely. Oh my gosh.
Well, Christian Slater won Most Desirable Male that year for Untamed Heart, so we should have been paying attention.
Yeah, that one skipped by me.
MTV, it's all forming together.
This is
Mike.
the beginning.
You see what happened?
92 was their. That was the beginning of the
beginning
long
of the end.
slide. Yep.
You are not cool anymore. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, so that's where it ended, but where it lives in our hearts is what you guys probably tuned in to hear, right? So I'm sure. So, Mike, why don't we run this through the Grumpy meter? Why don't you go first?
Yeah, this one does not live very well in my untamed heart. Like the first movie, there was it's gloomy, it's no daylight. When you told me this movie was released in June, I was like shocked. I'd forgotten all about that because this has all the earmarks of a movie you'd want to see in Christmas time. It was gloomy, snowing the whole freaking movie.
I think they shot it to be a holiday release, and they push it out till usually Christmas movies with Christmas themed movies in June mean one thing. They wanted to release it earlier, or they had to release it later.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I didn't know if it was one or the other. I think it's bloated. I think this movie alone could have been okay with just the theme of the Catwoman.
Yeah.
I don't think the Penguin was needed. He was not. I mean, his storyline didn't. It was stupid, and you got it goes all the way down to the stupid penguins with the rockets and everything. And I mean, even the believability of him running for mayor just because of one act he did. It was just like, are you kidding me? But yeah, like I said, Michelle Pfeiffer alone could have carried a good villain plot line in this movie without needing any other, clown goons with her or anything. I think that it kind of suffered for me for that. It just seemed kind of bloated. Just like the Penguin's figure himself, But like I said,
he looks good in he looks good in a onesie, doesn't he, Mike?
Jeez, I did not need to see more rear end shots of Danny DeVito in that outfit. Good Lord,
not good. No.
Yeah, but it was even grimmer than the first Tim Burton version of Batman, and it wasn't a fun watch for me for a superhero movie. And like I said, it's not supposed to be. It's Batman. He's a Dark Knight. It's supposed to be gritty and grim, and it was, but it was almost just too over the top and too bonkers for my likings. But I would say 2 stars is kind of fitting for this movie out of 4.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the first time I saw this, I have a weird connection to this movie. So the first time I saw this in was a very bright summer June day, and I went by myself to the theater because I did that a lot back then. And I remember going to the theater. It was a mall theater, and it was so bright outside that my eyes had not adjusted to the darkness of the theater. And I remember being blinded when I walked into the theater. And Mike, I actually ended up sitting on somebody.
Oh, wow.
I was feeling myself. I was basically blind, and I was feeling my way to the aisle to find a seat. And I literally sat on someone.
Oh no! Was
I
it one of
I
the? Was
I've
it one of the?
repressed.
Was it one of the midgets playing one of the emperor penguins in this movie?
I don't know. I've repressed so much of it. That's about all I remember. But I remember just being, because I'm very socially awkward doing those kind of things anyway. And I remember just being horrified and embarrassed. And I think that probably put a tag on this movie for me for my whole life. But I can't tell
Right.
if the person was male or female. I hope it's male. So whoever sat in that seat in Joliet in 1992, I'm sorry. But
I
it'd be great if we
apologize.
actually reconnected, Mike. But
Yes.
but anyway, I remember seeing this and thinking, at the time I probably gave it a 4 out of 5 because that's all we had. You made do with what
Right.
you had, and these kind of things were neat and new and shiny and pretty and cool, and everybody wanted to be there. So I think just through association, I liked it. But watching it again this week for the show, I kind of share the same thoughts you had. It just didn't. Back then, it was the best we could expect, but now things have just the bar has been raised significantly, not just on superhero movies, but movies in general. And it just didn't work for me. I'm with you.
Right.
I think one or the other of the villains might have been good. I don't know why superhero movies like to combine villains anymore, especially
Yeah, the
Batman.
Batman movies are especially guilty of. I mean,
Yeah.
the first one worked well with the Joker. I mean, Jack Nicholson
It, it
carried
it
it.
only worked well because of the villain. The villain
Yeah,
was the
exactly.
drove the
Yeah.
story and the narrative. And here it's like it's a ping pong match. So let's talk about,
Right.
let's play funny penguin stuff, and then let's do this angst with Catwoman. And I think if they just would have picked one or the other, preferably Michelle Pfeiffer. Uh,
Please.
uh, and that's the other thing. I interesting dynamic with her. I at the time, I guess it's because your opinion of women change when you're 20 and when you're 50. But she was just, I mean,
Yeah.
to me she was my version of Helena Bonham
Ah,
Carter. That she was just vampy and cool, and I don't know why I didn't see the appeal of her when I was 20. But now, from a more adult, more mature version, I think she was just she could not be better in this movie. I think it's the only thing that's any
yeah.
other Catwoman
I know.
pales in
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah. You
Or
think
if
of.
they are trying to do it, they're just trying to do a version of her, which
Yeah, they're ripping off either her or Julie Newmar, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
just it's not the same. I mean, she had it nailed perfectly in
Yeah,
this.
she
And
set the standard for this. And sorry, Zoe Kravitz, but this is how we want Catwoman. I want Catwoman anyway. But yeah, I probably go down to like a 2.5 out of 5. It's just an average movie. The art direction and all that stuff kind of save it. And there's some great
yeah,
cinematography, and the score is not terrible, but it doesn't hold the candle to what you would expect today for starters. And I don't know, from a retrospective standpoint, not so good. So.
right, exactly.
So, Mike, speaking of retrospectives, so as people
Nice
might be
segue.
aware, nice, not bad, right? Actually wrote that down. Uh, as you guys might be aware, this is the season finale of our second season here on the Grumpy Nostalgia podcast. Our first season was only like 13. We wanted to kind of model it after the old TV shows to see if it would work, and so we've hit our 26th episode, and that concludes our second season. We did a total of 24 movies this year, and it was a lot of fun. And me and Mike spent some time thinking about what were our favorite moments. And we thought, as a nice little way to wrap up the season, we kind of share with you, our beloved listening audience, what our personal favorite moments were from the following season. So, Mike, there's many.
That is a lot.
It took a
Yes.
lot to nail it down because we were so beautiful and talented. But Mike, why don't you start us off with one of your favorite parts of the last season?
Um, favorite is not the word I would use, but
Okay.
let's say scenes that stuck with me. Let's go with that. Let's go with scenes that stick out like a sore thumb. I'm gonna write
Okay.
off a couple here that maybe some of our listeners may be familiar with. Why did Jimmy Buffett jump out of the plane in Congo? Hey, good question, right?
Yeah,
Did you know that camels can outrun horses?
this
Yeah,
is true.
as we saw in the Mummy.
Yes.
When you're doing a video call, it is good to place your back to the call before you answer it, and then turn around, as Mr. Cohagen did. And
very nice. Yeah.
the scenes where like Michael Ironside has to report to him, and Cohagen always has his back to the camera. You just see the back of his head
over the shoulder.
Slowly turn. Yes, and he slowly turns around. Just thinking about it, I'm like, what?
Like, look into the lens, you loser.
We had a little bit of Scientology beatdown. We had John Travolta beating up Danny Masterson in Face Off, which was one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Gotta love it. Yeah.
You had a very stiff Charlton Heston riding his horse in Tombstone, which that scene alone was worth the whole movie for me. It was wow. Piece de resistance.
Wonderful.
And we had two different movies with Joe Don Baker, and I would like to go over some of the props he used. He had a golf club in Congo that he liked to use, and Cape Fear. He was really good with teddy bears and monofilament line, and
not too good though.
Not good enough to save his life, but
yeah,
that big jar of Pepto Bismol he keeps on his desk might help
as a mixer. Yeah,
that's right. I want to go then a special mention to Dune, the movie Dune. Long movie, but okay movie. It was possibly worst ending credits I've ever seen in my life. You had Jared Leto getting pummeled in Fight Club, which that's worth seeing the movie just for that minute of just him getting punched in the face. Beautiful. An awesome mystery was solved in the movie, the remake of Planet of the Apes, when we found out what Klima meant. That when that mystery was solved, I tell you, wow,
made the whole movie, right?
Away. Yeah, it was like watching the end of Sixth Sense all over again. And then I'm gonna go with John Lithgow's accent and Cliffhanger. That one stuck with me because not only did he go with South African, I think he went with an English, maybe a Welsh. I think he had a little bit of New Zealand in there. He was all over the place. He was foreign.
You recognize these locations? Let me jar your memory. If you don't recognize them, you're useless. Useless items are usually discarded.
So they had that going for him.
It was just a foreign accent.
Right. And
pick one.
Pick one. And those, as far as moments, those are probably my favorite moments. I will go with some. Give me let me take a little breather, Justin. I'll let you go with some of your favorite moments.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mike, I reined mine in a little bit more than you did. I didn't have that many favorite moments. Let's be honest. No, I think special note needs to be taken to our everybody's favorite little mutant, Quado.
Yes.
In the movie Total Recall, we had a wonderful discussion about the plot relevance and pop cultural impact of this little Cabbage Patch doll that came out of the guy's side. Had a wonderful soft-spoken voice, and he was a psychic, Mike. But unfortunately,
he didn't last long enough.
He died in the line of fire. But the conversations we had about Quado were some of my favorites, and will always hold a special place in my heart anyway.
And Quado is a mutant, but is the host the mutant, or is Quado's body that he supports is that the mutant? I was very confused.
I don't know. I really don't want to think about Quado.
I have so many questions.
There's so many questions. I literally, my wife walked by as I was doing this film, and I was on the countertop of my laptop, and I hit pause and I laughed, and I kept laughing, and I couldn't stop laughing, and she poked her head around the corner and said, "What's going on in there?" And I said, "Quado."
He's here. Finally. 3/4 of the way to the movie is Quado.
And I don't know why I didn't laugh that hard the first time I saw Quado back in 1990. My next one, Mike, is my favorite. One of my favorite conversations we had on the show was when we were discussing the black bag operation in the movie.
Oh,
Face
yes.
And
no one knew
remember,
about it, right?
Yeah, it's what stands out to me was not only your excessive giggling during the entire premise of the movie, But just the fact that there was such a thing as a black bag in this ridiculous premise of the movie, we talked about that, and we still do to this day. Everything we talk about is a black bag
Yeah.
operation. So I thought that was some serious merit. Since they've got Nicolas Cage still alive, there's this black bag operation where there's some secrets. They call it that too.
I know. I love that phrase.
But there's a secret government agency that's made available to them where they decide they have the technology to take off his face. Mike, come on, stay with me. And my other favorite part of the season was when we did our Halloween episode, Mike, the viewers poll where everybody chose for us to review Poltergeist, the original.
Oh yeah.
And at the end, we had a list where we talked about things that freaked us out as kids, and I was really particularly proud of that conversation, particularly the Salem's Lot conversation we had, and the and my disdain for McDonald's Hamburglar from the 1970s, which oddly enough, that and the Willy Wonka reference got a lot of fan feedback about people that shared their disdain for Willy Wonka's tonal shift when he goes into the
he goes in the tunnel.
River. Yeah.
Yes.
People remember that. So that was one of my favorite times of the season for sure, Mike.
Nice. Do you have any favorite characters? Because I've got a couple of characters I want to give special mention to. One would be Muddy Jessica Lange from Cape Fear. That was really
hashtag Muddy Jessica
hashtag Muddy Jessica Lange. That one stuck with me. And King Willie. I want everyone to remember King Willie. He had a very brief moment in Predator 2, but he was the leader of the Jamaican Voodoo Posse. Hopefully that people remember that the Jamaican Voodoo Posse rode around in Cadillacs and wore zoot suits, and they had their own little vibe going on in LA in the 90s. And King Willie sadly gets killed, and I think his skull is used to be polished by the villain. And just want to say rest in peace, King Willie.
Okay, well, yeah, I had a couple of my favorite characters. One was Ed 209, the robot from RoboCop, the first prototype for law enforcement. He sucks. He was terrible. He growled and he squealed like pigs, and he was just very ineffectual robot. Yeah, couldn't do stairs. He was one of my favorites. Herkimer Homolka from Congo, played by Tim Curry.
Oh, the Romanian, yes,
the Romanian / foreign accent.
He went to John Lithgow accent school.
He did. His complete ineptitude as a mercenary looking for the diamonds. That was one of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also I'm going to stay with Congo because it has a special place in my heart. The horrible puppet, Amy, the gorilla, Amy. That had the Nintendo Game Boy glove that interpreted her.
It was Fred Savage in a monkey suit, by the way.
Was that what it was? But her little girl voice to her smoking, her drinking, her odd choices, her horrible voice. She'll go down as one of my favorite characters for sure.
All right, this is okay, audience. This is unplanned. Justin, pop quiz, hot shot.
Yeah. I'm
going to name you some quotes, and I want you to name me the movie it came from. Are you ready?
Fun. Yeah, okay.
All right. This is it. Okay, I'm going to go. This will be pretty easy. Then they'll get a little harder. All right. Okay. Never rat on your friends and always keep your mouth shut.
Okay, that's easy. That's the Goodfellas reference.
There you go.
Yeah, Jimmy Conway. Yeah.
All right. I could eat a peach for hours.
That would be Castor Troy in Face Off.
Nice. Dead or Alive, You're Coming With Me.
That again, Peter Weller in RoboCop.
Oh, quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it?
Oh, I think you got me on that one, Mike.
Blade Runner, Rutger Hauer.
I
forgot the character's name, but he's beating up Harrison Ford.
That's good. Yeah,
I love that line. My favorite line of the season: "The things you own end up owning you."
I think that's a Tyler Durden reference.
Yes,
right?
Fight Club. Yeah, cool.
Wow.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women. Another easy one. It's a softball.
I'm going to go with Quint from Jaws on that one.
If you're from California, you're not anything.
That was from Days of Thunder, right?
That's right. Yeah, Randy Quaid.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, here comes the hard ones. I hate work even when someone else is doing it.
Those are the snowboarder dudes from Cliffhanger. Come
Yes,
on.
good one. Yeah, the Extreme Boys. And then I'll be home in time for cornflakes.
Oh, Mike, we've said this thing to each other every time we've spoken. This is the Ronnie Cox played Cohagen
Yes.
from Total Recall.
And then
Fantastic dialogue there.
my last one, which includes a montage scene, is "I Will Not Fail," which is
well, you just did. That's I don't know who the band is, but that's the song that's playing during one of the several montage scenes in Point Break.
It
right?
almost sounds like Sammy Hagar or somebody singing it, but I don't think it was him. But yeah, it's just this generic early '90s just montage movie scene.
Well, that's the thing. It could have been anybody. It could have been Winger.
Exactly.
It could have been Extreme. It could have been Sammy Hagar. It could. It didn't matter. It could have been Rat. It didn't matter. Wow, so that was fun. I didn't know that was coming. Thank you, Mike. If I would have known, I would have got you something. If I know we were.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's what was the pop quiz hot shot.
Yeah. So, well, guys, that's going to kind of wrap it up. Not only for this show, but for our, as we mentioned, our second season. We want to give out a few shout outs. We want to thank Aaron and Molly for contributing this year.
Yes,
and we've got a commitment from both of them that they're going to continue to be part of our show going forward. We have a big schedule for season 3. Got the two contributing members I already mentioned. Plus, we've got at my count at least 2 to 3 more that are going to be joining us around this year. So you won't always have to listen to just me and Mike talk about the same old crap. We've got several people that are going to be guest contributors going on for the next season. Me and Mike are going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings this weekend and plan out the entire season. So,
oh no!
And then spend the next few days in the toilet, but come back and do it the right way. But first of all, we really want to thank you guys for sure. We talked about it in sparse amounts over the course of the season, but from where we started to where we are now in terms of downloads and popularity is just exponentially higher. We never thought the show would grow as much as it did. We thought we'd catch a few, odd people like ourselves that would just like to talk about these things, but we've really kind of grown our audience like 5 times from when we started, which is just completely thrilling. And you guys are really the responsible for all of that. So people that have been with us since the very beginning, we really want to thank you for doing that and for sharing information about the show and letting other people know what we're trying to do here. But we just hope to keep getting better and incorporating more of you into the show and just having a lot more fun with it. We'll have a lot more media, a lot more social opportunities to get together going forward in the seasons ahead. So, cool. So for me and Mike, we don't really get sentimental a lot, but we are really humbled by the support that the show's got for this first couple seasons. So we want to thank you guys very, very much. So woohoo! So Mike, that's going to kind of wrap it up, and I need to make sure I acknowledge my co-host Mike. I'm so proud that you've decided to join me on this journey, and
yes.
Your contributions have been fantastic, and it's been a joy working with you too, man. So
yeah, well, we're not so different, you and I. What you put in the toilet, I put on my mantle.
Oh, that's I had that written down. You flush it, I flaunt it.
Beautiful.
All right, so with that scatological reference, me and Mike are going to get out of here. But we want to thank you guys for listening, and we will see you again for season 3. So for Mike James, this is Justin, and we will see you again next time.